Time flies, but where does it go? By your side, I don't need to know. If you're mine, don't care what tomorrow holds. Just live in the moment with me.
Let's say there's someone watching this right now who is in the pain cave, like deep in the pain cave, right? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, like you have been a couple times that I've seen you. When I first met you, you were dealing with a big mold infection and you had no education around that. So when the first doctors told you that you essentially needed to change everything about your life, it was really distressing. And then last year you got COVID and you got like long haul symptoms and had all this GI stuff going on and life stuff going on, very uncertain with a lot of things. Business had been crumbling and you were just deep in the pain cave. So I think uniquely, I would like to hear about, well, what's the first like big picture wisdom that you think someone that's in the pain cave can hear right now that would help them?
Nothing lasts forever. Yeah, nothing lasts forever. Everything is always changing. And I guess it depends on what type of pain they're going through, if it's emotional, spiritual, physical. But I'd say something that was really helpful for me was Stoicism. And this idea that I got from Stoicism was just focusing on what you can control. So controlling the controllables. And I think when you put a lot of energy into your locus of control, your sphere of influence, is very empowering. And it gives you a sense that things can change, I guess. For me, that's kind of like, I always knew like, I joke that, and I think a lot of my friends reflect this to me as well, is that I'm a very persistent person, super persistent. And I'm very stubborn and hard-headed and very honey badger-like. You know, like there's this image of like a honey badger like walking through like the desert, and it has like porcupine spikes in it in its back, and it's just like underneath it, just like the meme is like mood, you know. And that's kind of how I feel like
both those times.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, I think I've gone through different seasons where it's like, all right, I'm gonna just like strong arm this situation and like make it my bitch, and like I'm gonna conquer it and I'm gonna like figure it out. And then other times I'm just like, I can do nothing but surrender. And that was like the big, I think, takeaway this last go around with like COVID and autoimmune and my business falling apart and like having to move and family stuff. It was just like, this is such a black hole right now that I just have to let go, because there's nothing to hold on to. There's literally nothing
like
to
all going in.
Yeah. And when you have that like acceptance of just how bad it is and how you really can't change anything, at least in that moment, then the only sort of, I said, mindset or course of action is inaction. Of just like allow the storm to like run its course and know that the change is on the forefront. And I think that's something that always gave me a light at the end of the tunnel, was that the pendulum always swings. And I think like my roommates right now who I'm living with would say, the stuff they say about the things that are happening in my life right now, and like people who are close to me are like, it seems like miracles and magic and stuff is just like unfolding for me. And I knew that would come because of how far in the other direction I went. So I think that's a big like principle that I sort of like live by now.
I've got like two big questions right now.
Yeah.
Number one, you know, a big reason why I do the podcast in this show is like selfish, right? So I can pull out like people's
wisdom.
different genius and get advice for free on the show, right? So one thing is, when you say that, like everything is a black hole, to give some context, let's actually start with that. To give some context as to what all the amazing things are happening in your life right now.
Yeah.
Can you give me like a quick, like if you didn't know, I didn't know you, like who are you and what do you do and what's been the success lately that people would be like, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yeah. So while I was sick, I really couldn't do anything, except I promised myself I would continue to put out one YouTube video a week. And I talk about health and wellness stuff, biohacking stuff, and lifestyle optimization, these kind of things. And I just really stayed true to that as best as I could. I mean, I missed a couple weeks, but for the most part, every week a video was coming out. And over the course of the last 24 months, that turned into, doing over $1 million in affiliate revenue and creating a 6-figure passive income stream for myself. So I replaced my active 6 figures of income with passive 6 figures in income over the last 2 years. And I now literally get mailbox money. And it blew up all of a sudden very recently. Within the last 6 months, I think things really started to pick up.
Like it was exponential, right?
Yeah, it was really exponential. It was really incremental at first, and then it's becoming exponential. And I don't even feel like I've hit my hockey stick growth curve yet. Like I feel like it's just like now coming off the surface a little bit. So like I imagine in a year, it'll be more like $50,000 a month in passive income or $100,000 a month in passive income. And it's kind of just working on its own, and it's growing, and I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. But it really doesn't take that much energy for me, because I built a lot of systems and I delegated stuff, and I picked a strategy that was sustainable for me and low output, high impact.
Let's break that down a little bit. So when you started this whole thing, what was like the initial conversation with yourself once you decided this is what you wanted? How did you pick the health and fitness gadget and product space? What was that conversation? Was it a coach or was it internal?
No, it was literally 2 years of trying to figure it out.
Okay, so it was 4 years.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years of trying to decide what to do and 2 years of doing it.
Yeah, so basically I had built a 6-figure videography business, working with entrepreneurs, telling their stories, doing ads and creative stuff. And it was really successful. I was working with top industry leaders. I still do. And they were paying me 5 figures to work for like 2 days. And
film for 2 days.
Film for 2 days, yeah. And then I'd edit for a long time. But what would happen is I would do promotions and I'd get lots of new clients. I'm really good at getting clients when I want to, and I would get a bunch of new clients, and then I would have to service all those clients, and it was a lot of fulfillment in the editing. And
when you say fulfillment, you mean like a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah,
like
not necessarily like, oh, I feel so good about myself.
No, like a lot of work. Yeah, fulfilling it. Yeah. So contextually, yes, it was a lot of like sitting behind a computer and being by myself, and I was still dealing with the mold stuff, and I was like.
So you had solved the money issue.
Yes.
But in solving that, you created some issues.
Yeah, I created some golden handcuffs, because I would do all this promotion and I would get all these clients, but then I'd have to like sit behind the computer for like months. And then my pipeline would empty out and I'd have to go doing the same thing. And I was on this roller coaster going up and down. So I knew something was not working with my business model. And I didn't want to build an agency or production company because it wasn't my dream, wasn't really what I wanted to do. It's not like what I got in the game for. So I just kept asking myself the question, like, how do I have my cake and eat it too? Like, how can I make videos on my terms, and how can I stabilize my income and create passive income so that it's not attached to my time? Therefore, when I stop working, the money keeps coming in. And I remember during this time, I was really working on correcting my posture and like fixing the mold stuff, like going through a protocol. And so I was pretty like, I could only work like half days. And this is during COVID as well, like the beginning of COVID, like right before COVID, I think. And I would just listen to podcasts while I worked out and like did exercises and was like going for a walk. I was walking a lot, like 15,000 steps a day at this time. And I was just on the hunt to figure out what was the right model for passive income that was going to work for me. Was it real estate? Was it courses? Was it affiliate marketing? Was it drop shipping? What was it? And I just kept coming back to like my strengths and what I like to do and how I like to spend my time. And I was telling everyone about this health and wellness products, you know, like I got the Oura Ring. I started teaching people about sleep, and everyone started coming to me and asking me. And eventually I was like, I think I got something here with the sleep stuff. So I built a little course. I pre-sold it. Like 300 people like bought it. And I was like, wow, like this is great. So I started making videos about sleep in the Oura Ring. And then I was doing the cold plunge. I built my own cold plunge as well. And I made a video about that. And that ranked #1 on Google and YouTube for the keywords cold plunge, which at the time was like not very much in terms of traffic. But I knew like I had this problem. I knew other people had this problem because Wim Hof was blowing up and everyone wanted to do cold therapy. So I just made this video, and it ranked, and it started getting a lot of traffic. And I remember I made my first affiliate marketing sale from like Amazon, like associates or whatever, which is like nothing, but it was like $25. And I just remember being like, it works. And like I had cracked the code on something. I'm like, I just need to figure out how to do this at a bigger scale. And that $25 was the best money I've ever made in my entire life. Way better than the $10,000 or $15,000 paychecks that I got from my clients. And so I just studied the game. You know, I studied YouTube SEO. I bought a bunch of courses. I remember making tons of videos that just flopped and like no one saw them. But I remember there was this guy named Ali Abdal, who's a big YouTuber, and he talks about his journey growing on YouTube. And one of the things that he said, if you just put out a video every week for the next 5 years, like all your problems will be taken care of financially. And like you'll have a big audience of people who want to buy stuff from you, and you'll have a platform. And that seemed like a really simple framework, and I had watched him execute it. And I was like, dude, I make videos for a living. Like, there's no reason why I can't just put these videos on YouTube and then let them grow and let people find me, basically. It's just about having that consistency of being able to continually show up and like refine your craft and get 1% better with each video. But what I found is that was taking a lot of time, to make videos every week, like 20, 30, 40, 50 hours for one video.
Wow. To
get like a couple hundred views, you know, it is really heartbreaking. And I was still dealing with the health stuff and like spending a lot of time with that. So I just like, I kept asking myself this question, like how, and like YouTube also, little side note, they have these analytics in the back. And I found myself checking the analytics all the time, like in an unhealthy way, and spending a lot of time distributing my content across different platforms to get traction, because that's what you have to do in the beginning. And I just remembered like, I need to make this sustainable, and this is not sustainable. And I just started learning about systems then. Like, how do I build systems so I don't have to do all this stuff all the time? So I built a couple systems. I hired an assistant. She took over the social media. And then fast forward like 12 months later, and I built some more systems. And then I hired an editor. And now I don't have to do any of the social media or the data collection. And I don't have to do any of the editing. So now I have the ability to just sit down, do some research, script the video, shoot the video, send it off, and then boom, out comes a video that's probably better than the one that I would have made, because the editor's full-time job is to edit. And my assistant's full-time job is to do social media, or part-time job is to do social media. So I don't have any other focuses in terms of the channel except for making the best quality content possible, which is really powerful.
Now, when you're starting that, let's say there's people watching who are like, you know, YouTube, they want it to be their thing and they want affiliate sales to be their thing.
Yeah.
What budget do they need to set aside per month to do that before or after? Like, what's the monthly budget of
for
having
my
a
team?
channel run like that?
Oh,
yeah. Like, what's your burn rate?
Not very much. All the systems are free to make.
Right.
So I have a playbook, and that's just like a directory where I build all my systems in Google Docs and Excel. And then Asana is for task management and project management. And then Voxer is for communication with my team. Voxer, I think, costs like $5 a month or $9 a month, something like that for the pro. But you don't even need the pro if you don't want. So $9, and then a couple softwares for doing keyword research. So maybe another $15 a month there, or $20 a month. So call it $30 a month. And then my assistant is probably somewhere between $200 and $500 a month. And then my editor is probably $500 to $700 a month. So I'd say roughly $1,100.
Got it.
$1,100, $1,200
per month to run it and grow it.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, do you see, like, how big can this grow with that current system without increasing those costs?
Infinitely.
Okay, so this is like the system.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. All I have to do is get better at making content. Because once I get better at making content, all the other stuff is taken care of.
Got it.
And
do you currently
YouTube scales infinitely?
Do your own affiliate deals, or does your assistant handle that?
I do my affiliate deals.
Okay, so in the future, would someone else do that?
Yeah. I could have a business manager or an online business manager or a business development person do that. And that would be a higher paying role because they're structuring deals, they're negotiating commissions, they're it's basically sales. So I would give them a percentage of the sales, probably like 5%.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Of the deals that they worked and closed and negotiated and all that stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And just so I clear this topic and we get complete with that, there's a place people can go to download your playbook.
Yeah. You can go to timewealth.io/playbook, and you can get the playbook on how to hire an assistant, a personal chef, and how to build systems and use them in your organization or in your life for that matter. So do you want me to circle back around to like all the things that are going great?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, let's circle that. Yep.
So I have this 6-figure passive income stream that's growing, and it only takes me 5 to 10 hours a week to do, which is great. I just moved into a brand new house. It was built in 2020 or 2021 that has a pool and a hot tub, and it's a modern barn, and it looks beautiful. And I live there with 2 of like my best friends, which is epic. And
you're a ping pong amateur becoming professional.
Yes, rising ping pong star. We have a ping pong table. There's red lights throughout the house that are like smart light bulbs. I have an 8-sleep mattress on my bed. All the house came furnished. Like it's 5 minutes outside of town. It's like a perfect part of
it's like downtown Austin.
Yeah, it's so good. And so there's that. And then I'm getting a lot healthier. So like I've been working out a lot. I feel like my body looks good. Like I'm getting stronger. My favorite health and wellness companies are sending me all their products for free to basically test, and then I get paid to sell them if I like them and I believe in them. And I'm building this great company with you that I'm like super excited to be able to build a company with your friend, and I have all the skill sets that it takes to just get an online business off the ground like that. Like I don't need to hire anyone. I can just do it all myself. And we go on epic trips like around the world with the Avengers. And I am also like finally starting to like expand my dating life, and I'm having a lot of fun, like meeting girls, and spiritually, I feel very aligned with the direction I'm going. I feel like I'm just like
very
fulfilled, and things just work for me, like shit just like stuff that I give you, like this is a flex, but it's like, like people like Peter Diamandis are like hiring me to help them grow their YouTube channel and to like film their events. And, I've just been very blessed and fortunate to have I have so many opportunities, and it's only going to get better and better and better and better. And I have an amazing coach who I pay a lot of money, and I have the luxury of paying her a lot of money. And she supports me in so many ways that I can't begin to describe. And, I think something that I'm also just present to is like, I have all these health issues, but like none of them are irreversible.
So this brings me to a point here. In the last episode of the show, I interviewed Yuri Choi, who because he was in Jackson Hole with the Avengers with us, and we discussed getting from pain to like peace or courage, like that -8 of the emotions, shame, guilt, apathy, all that fear, anger, all the way up to courage. And that's kind of getting away from pain, right? And then it's a totally different process of getting from like neutral to enlightenment or towards that, right? Joy, happiness, all of those things, willingness, right? So earlier you mentioned that it was a black hole and that everything was going into it. And so my selfish question is, and I think a lot of people hopefully can relate to this. I hope I'm not like wasting their time listening to this, but in my life, I've constructed it in such a way that there is it's like impossible to have a complete black hole situation, which might actually be better in some regards than having some stability with a black hole. So for me, there's like the possibility of a black hole, but there's stuff to hang on to. So, and then the black hole will eventually go away. So the question is, in that scenario, do you believe it's better to just go into the black hole and come out of it the other side? Or is it better to keep some structures in your life? Like, let's say now, if everything started to fall apart, but your YouTube business was good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. My YouTube was still earning me money while I was sick with COVID.
So it wasn't all.
But it was just enough to keep me afloat and to pay for the doctors and the medicine and the supplements and all that stuff. But it was like somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. You know what I mean? So I couldn't live the way that I normally live, but like it was enough to survive.
You could make
and
it.
That's why I'm so bullish on it now. Is I'm like, bro, this saved my life. You know, like it really took care of me. But the first time I went through the health stuff, I didn't have anything. I had zero support, zero structure, nothing to hang my hat on. And it was also all new the first time. Whereas this time I was like, oh, my body's breaking down and like shit is going bad. But like, what do I know? I know I need to sleep well. Like, I know I need to be outside and like be in nature as much as I can, get lots of sunlight. I know I need highly nutritious food. And I need to move my body at least like enough. I just need to move, right? Like something. And then I need to protect my mind.
Yes.
And like give myself like good inputs and continue to stay connected to my friends and people who are important to me.
So you had many structures for the second time that were able to prevent you from falling completely into that again. So I want to set one more context and then I want to come back to that.
Okay.
The context is, so you went from -8 shame during COVID and like guilt and like bad juju and like really uncomfortable to a place of neutrality and courage and peace to do all this new stuff that you're doing now, which has led you to a beautiful place. What would be your wisdom or advice for, I find that it's two separate journeys, right? People can be in a place of extreme pain, suffering, and then they'll get the courage to move themselves to peace or some goodness. And I know you've experienced that several times. What's your advice and wisdom on moving from that place of peace and like some goodness to cultivating like a beautiful life? Like, what's the mindset shifts that need to happen?
Well, yeah, it's a great question for me right now because I feel like that's what I'm doing currently, like in my life. And I have a lot of, I give a lot of credit to my coach who I'm working with, Amanda Renee on Instagram, if you want to look her up. And it's just going from this mindset of letting things be okay to actually giving yourself permission to get what you feel like your deepest desires are. Because your deepest desires are like breadcrumbs that are leading you towards your soul's calling. Even if they feel weird or obnoxious or indulgent or
let's concrete examples. What do we got here?
So for example,
the quote that I heard for that, which is beautiful, which might be from Amanda, was your passions are your purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I really want to spend like $5,000 a month on my health.
Got it.
From a wellness perspective, right?
And from like a more like feminine statement of that is like you want to invest in your health a lot more than
normal people
would, or what like would be considered acceptable
or appropriate.
Yeah.
Right. So like I want to go to network chiropractic twice a week. I want to see an acupuncturist once a week. I want to do hyperbaric chambers once a week. I want to do it all. And I used to feel like that was so like who am I to spend that type of money? Like, shouldn't I invest that in my business, or shouldn't I invest that in the market, or should I save that money? And what she helped me see was that like there's nothing wrong with that. And the only reason why I felt like it was wrong is because of a story that I told myself about the fact that it was wrong, and other people's judgments or my own judgment about that thing. Another example would be like, I really don't want to work that much. I really just don't. I want to have seasons where like I feel inspired and I'm just always like that. I also feel like I just want lots of leisure time. I want some time to chill and walk and hang with my friends and have sex and go to the beach and go to the gym and be in nature. And I just have this like weird, there it is, right? Like that's my judgment. I have this desire that's not weird. It's my desire that I have like a more European type of lifestyle that's just more relaxed. And I think the only reason why I thought that was wrong is because of, stories that I've created for myself about what's right and what's wrong. That's it. So I think to answer your question, the mindset shift is just really tuning into what you actually desire and letting go of the shame and the guilt and the judgment that you have around those things, and actually giving yourself permission to go for it. And that's why I have the tattoo on my arm, which is what would you love? And the significance of that tattoo is really just, like you have one life. Like what would you truly, truly love? What would light you up more than anything? What would make you forget about all your problems? What would make you feel alive? And by asking that question, you're going to get some really interesting answers. And I feel like that is the mindset shift, is going from what do I want and what's okay and what I believe is acceptable and right, to what would I love? And just moving in that direction and being guided by that type of questioning.
So for you, it's spending a lot of time, a lot of money on your health.
Mm-hmm.
It's working less and doing work that you're really inspired by,
mm-hmm.
and having seasons where you feel like you just want to work a lot, and having seasons where you're like, I really just want to relax a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other examples of things for you that you're like, oh, these are my passions that are probably leading to like helping me feel a really fulfilling and purposeful life?
Something that I think is really taboo in Western culture, and especially America, is just like, for me in the season I'm in, I really just want to be doing a lot of dating, and I really want to find out what type of woman like I want to be with, and I have no idea what that looks like right now. And I feel like people make it wrong that like you want to date a lot of people, and that it's promiscuous, or it's I don't know, like it's just, it's mean, or you're not being thoughtful of other people, and to me, I'm just like, look, as long as you're honest, you're transparent, you're upfront with people, you tell them exactly where you're at, then it's up for them to like basically be responsible for how they want to be with you. So those are some examples that come to mind.
Are there any places people could go, or exercises, like for someone that has not found or been honest with themselves about these things and what's their passion? Like, I think these are tough things, especially depending on who you're surrounded by, right? Your support network. So for you, you're surrounded by a lot of people that are like, yeah, anything that you want, you should go after, right? For people that are in that place where they're still trying to figure out like what those passions are there questions or journal prompts, or what would they be able to hear if you could put yourself back in those shoes to help them discover what it is they really want, and then give them some confidence or some friction on the ground?
I feel like there's a lot of inner child work. So for like, I think my experience has been that as we grow up, we kind of like leave our little child versions of ourselves behind to some degree. Not always, but a lot of the time we have these desires as kids and as adolescents that are really fruitful and like very powerful, and we just deny them because it's not right, quote unquote, right? Or it's not appropriate, or it's not the right time, or you need to focus on other things, like you need to be, grow up and you need to do these things. And I think that if you just be quiet with yourself for a little bit and you like tune into your body and that little mini version of you, that little child version, and just, ask the little Skip, like, hey, little Skip, like, what do you need from me? What are you trying to tell me? What do you want to do? What do I need to know? And then you write whatever comes. And I think that's a great place to start. And then from there, I would just notice like what brings you energy, right? And just being...
So like do the things and then see which ones give you more energy or not.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's less about, like, what ends up happening is you'll do the thing and then you'll realize, oh, it wasn't about this. I just needed to feed that child.
What's a concrete example of that for you? Like something that you tried and you're like, oh.
Like, I think my relationship with video is evolving a lot. Like I really fulfilled my dream of becoming a videographer, and as I'm maturing, I'm like, wow, I really patched that hole. Right. And now I'm like, okay, like what's maybe the next step? And right now for me, it's like, okay, I want to become an athlete. Right. And that's the pendulum swinging, right? Like I went all this way over here to like sick and like tons of issues, and it's going to swing back and it's going to be, okay, athlete, high performer, like, and I feel like it's really just me making up time that was lost, And so part of my healing is literally fulfilling that dream, right? And the more that you can do that, I believe the faster your healing will be, right? Is you're giving your child version of yourself what it needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you experienced any notions or realities of any sort of self-sabotage on this journey of growth and fulfillment?
So many, man. So many. I mean, that's why I work with Amanda. Basically, all that work is just making sure I stay out of my own way.
Yeah. So what was happening before you hired her that spurred you to
I kept getting sick.
So no matter how healthy you got, you would get sick again?
Yeah. Like I would get better, and then something would happen and I'd get worse. And I'd get better. I was on this yo-yo train, right? And I think there's a lot of familial stuff that's tied up in that. There's a lot of cultural stuff that's tied up in that. There's a lot of like identity stuff that's tied up in that. And so an example would be like, if something went wrong and like I got thrown off my rhythm, I would like totally, it would derail all the progress that I would make. I'd just be like, wow, it's not even worth it anymore. Whereas like, let's say like a month ago or a month and a half ago, about a month ago, I got a bunch of my blood work back and my numbers were worse. And in the past, that would have totally derailed me. And I would have just been like, well, what's the point of me doing all the stuff that I'm doing if it's not even working? But now that I have the awareness that I have and I have the tools that I have, it's really just like, oh, like, maybe I need to make some adjustments to like some fine tweaking to really like get things dialed in. But like my numbers weren't reflecting how I was feeling. So although I was angry and I was upset and I was discouraged and I acknowledge that all those emotions are present, I don't override that and I don't bypass that. After I had some time to cool down, I'm like, cool, let's get back to work. Because I can either sit here and I can complain and I can be a victim and I can say the world isn't fair and I'm spending all this money and I'm all this energy and all this time and I could get all worked up. But is that going to make me any healthier? Is that going to make my numbers any better? Is that going to do anything productive for me? No, my end goal is to live a good life, to be healthy and feel good inside my body, and to do that with people I love, and to feel like I'm making a difference in some type of contribution. And so does me staying in this state and like derailing all the stuff that I just did support this? And it doesn't. So no. So let me be angry and be upset, and then let me get over it and let me move on. and get back to work.
So I know you conceptually understood that years ago, what you just described. What experientially shifted that? What happened? Was it an exercise that Amanda did? Was it something you just experienced it enough times to where, you know, like you said in the very early part of the interview, like nothing lasts forever, and eventually you hit the wall enough that you're like, okay, I just can't do this anymore? Or was there something that shifted within you, or an experience that you had that changed that?
Yeah, I had an experience in two things. I had an experience in network chiropractic where I was on the table and
network chiropractic, to give a really quick explanation, is like, it's not like normal chiropractic where you're like popping and cracking joints. No. It's chiropractic where it's
basically energy work.
Yep.
And it's
really, like fancy Reiki.
Yeah, except way more intense and way more transformational. No offense to any Reiki people out there. Check out network chiropractic. It will change your life. Basically, I had this experience on the network chiropractic table where I was in a session, and it's so weird. Like network, you go into a different world. It's like doing psychedelics sometimes for me. And I remember I had this experience on the table where I literally felt the autoimmune leave my body. And so I have this deep knowing inside that it's like, this is a seasonal thing. Like, Kyle, you're going through something. Like, this is a time for transformation. There's this disease is trying to teach you something. And it's not going to be with you forever. And so even though my numbers are all out of whack, and it was like really frustrating, it's also like, it's going to be all right. Like, this is temporary. Again, this is temporary. But it's like a real knowing, like, because
experiential.
Yeah.
It's like in your body.
Yeah. What's happened, Skip, is that I have collected enough evidence of stories of people who have cured autoimmune to just know that it's possible. And
believe it, like really believe it.
Yeah. And yeah, full remission. And so I just have that belief, that it's like, if they can do it, I can do it. Because I've just proven to myself so many times that, like, if I put my mind to something, it's done. If I make a decision, this is how it's going to be, then that reality comes to be. So I'll be mad. And I was really mad. I haven't been that angry in a long time. But at the same time, it was like, cool. More data to work with. Right? What does that mean? I just need to get the right tests. I need to continue to take care of myself and do what I know works, and know, because I know at this point, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I get to some degree the human body, my body. And I'm like, the body's a healing machine. All it's trying to do is create homeostasis. So all we have to do is remove the things that are impeding that, and provide it with an environment that's supportive of the natural healing that is supposed to take place.
So there was something that you mentioned earlier that this brings up. So we've talked a lot about business, passion, health, fulfillment. We've talked about your journey, right? We've even talked about like the coaching and the inner child work, which is beautiful. So like deep emotional stuff. But you mentioned something we haven't talked about, and I have some questions about it, which is community. Like having the right people around.
Yes. And
you live with two best friends, like this great situation, right? In my experience of life, I meet a lot of people. I'm a people meter, right? Purple people meter. In your experience, like, how does one go about cultivating if I could say the word right, friendships for them? What are your wisdoms and secrets behind that? Like, how do you choose who you spend time with these days, now that there's an abundance here in Austin of great people? Yeah. What's your framework for that?
I wouldn't have said this a couple of years ago, but I'll say it now, because I think I just feel something with people, but I'm like, there's like a soul connection, and there's something like really, like, there's resonance in between the two, in between the two in the relationship. I think that's one thing. A more tactical thing, I think, is values. Like, I just look at someone's values, and they don't have to tell me their values. I just see their values by how they behave. And when I see that their values align with mine, I'm like, I could probably spend a lot of time with these people. What that looks like is they value health, they value community, they value growth, they value honest communication, and they usually have a big heart and they care about people, you know. And so if their values fall into any of those buckets, then there's some type of alignment there, and that will probably lead me to wanting to spend time with them. I also, after going through these rounds of like health stuff, what I realized is that there are certain people who will be there for you when it's really thick. And I think about this guy named Brad Hart. Shout out to Brad Hart, who is just a good human being. And me and my roommate, Alexander, when we were driving from San Diego to Austin, we stopped off at his house in Arizona, and he had us over, and he took us out to eat, and he would not let us pay for food. He bought us like guest passes at the gym and like took us to the gym. He went and bought ice for us so we could do a cold plunge, and like he just went so above and beyond as a host that it became this like kind of running joke of just like, we need more Brad Harts in the world, you know, of people who are just there for you. Brad Hart was also housed me when I was in transition while I was sick with COVID, and said, dude, if you need a place to stay, come stay at my place. So it's like people like that, that, you know, I think the joke is like, you know, you could call them after you like accidentally murder someone and say, hey,
can you help me bury the body?
Yeah, can you help me bury the body? So I think I look for people like that. I think that's a good litmus test.
That's a fantastic litmus test. Will you help me bury the body?
Yeah.
I could just think about that.
Yeah.
If they will, then maybe.
Yeah. And I also think like taking someone on like a 26-mile hike, you know, up like one of the steepest mountains in the country is a great place to start too. You know, because you see people's true colors when you put them under immense amounts of stress, right? And if you can remain friends through that, and you can see their worst, and you're still okay with seeing their worst, and you love their worst, and you acknowledge their worst, and you're yeah, like I think that's a great litmus test as well, because then you know, no matter how bad things are gonna get or be, because at some point things will be tough, that they're gonna show up in a way that you can count on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Rapid fire round.
Mm-hmm.
What are 5 things? I don't necessarily have to do them all, but what are 5 things I could do to feel better today? 5 simple things, not necessarily things I have to buy.
Yeah.
But what are 5 like habits that you could just say like blanket statement are probably going to make you feel better? It doesn't have to be like 100% hit, right?
Yeah.
Right off the top of your head. Yeah.
Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day.
Okay.
Drink 32 ounces of water right when you wake up.
32 ounces.
You will have much better bowel movements.
Okay.
Much better bowel movements, and you'll be well hydrated no matter what throughout the rest of the day. Go for a 20-minute walk in the morning. Make sure to get some sunlight. Put your bare feet on the ground for at least 10 to 20 minutes every single day. And meditate or consciously breathe 10 to 20 minutes every single day.
Okay. Do you have, okay, so top recommendation for meditation for like anyone, what would they do? Go to YouTube and type in?
Just download the app Calm or Headspace. The reason why I like Calm or Headspace is they track your meditations. And I'm a big fan of gamification, and that's what I allowed me to build a practice. Is I said I'm going to meditate for I think 100 days in a row or something. That was like my thing. And I locked in a habit, you know, a practice. I now have had a practice for 5 years because of that. So I think if you can gamify meditation, it's going to be really easy to stick with it. And in addition to that, I think that going to an event where you deepen your practice or you work with a practitioner, like a breathwork type situation, I think can also get you really, really excited about doing it. Like this year, I didn't work with anyone specifically, but I did another challenge. I did 60 minutes of meditation a day for 60 days. And now I can sit for 30 minutes and it's like nothing. I'm like, that's it. So I think challenges are good as well.
Awesome. And then do you have anything that's like on your heart, on your mind right now before I ask the wrap-up question that you're like, we didn't really talk about this, but I feel like it's really present for people that might be watching? And is there anything you want to let them know?
Yeah, there's a theme that runs through my life, and I think it shows itself in my business really well, which is that question everything, because nothing has to be the way that you think it has to be. It's made up. All the rules, all the things that you thought was the way that life and business should be is totally up for debate. And I'll use an example of one of my friends and mentors. His name is Ari Meisel, and he's one of those stories and examples that I've collected where he was $3 million in debt. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. He was hospitalized 3 times. And he now is debt-free. He cured his Crohn's disease, and he works 20 minutes a day. And he's even told me it's not even 20 minutes most of the time. And the other time that he has, because he's not working, he's spending with his kids. He's woodworking with a mentor. And then 3 days out of the week, he's saving people's lives as an EMT volunteer. His life is very different than the way that people think it should be and the way that life and business is supposed to look.
And is it because he's a genius, or is it because he worked with a bunch of famous coaches to get there? Or why do you think? And it could be a little bit of all of it, but what's the special part, if there is a special part at all?
I think the special part about him is, yes, he is a genius and he is very special. But more than that, I think he just asked really special questions. And he had to ask very special questions because he had constraints. And one of those questions is, if I could only work an hour a day, because that's all he could work, how would I make this work, right? How do I get out of this $3 million hole? How do I build a life for my family? How do I cure my Crohn's disease? And I think that's the biggest thing that has helped guide my life. And I hope to be that for other people, as Ari has been for me, of just like, okay, things are really challenging and I have a lot of constraints right now. So how do I get creative and make this work for me? And you're the captain of your own ship. Like, it's your life to build, and you can build it however you want. So just start asking better questions that will help you build that life that you desire.
And baby steps, yeah?
Yeah, baby steps. For me, it was one system at a time. Like, I'm just going to build one system, like maybe every month or every 2 weeks or something like that. But slowly, you start systematizing your whole business, and now you're only working, 10 hours a week,
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. This is a really big thing. An idea that was given to me through multiple people. One is through a friend and a mentor named Austin Netzley. And another one is through this guy who wrote this book called The Slight Edge. And the author's name is escaping me, but amazing book, is this principle of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so if you can just do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% every day in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're going to be light years ahead of everyone else. Or everyone else is trying to play the short game and is trying to get the thing fast. You're going to get the thing slow, but you're going to get it forever. And that's something you can take to the bank.
Beautiful. So when people fall in love with you and want to learn a lot more and see a lot more of your face, where do they go?
Go to YouTube, youtube.com/KyleGotCamera.
Beautiful. I'll drop that link in the comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time flies, but where does it go? By your side.